Welcome to Sex Afflictions and Porn Addictions. I am your host, Craig Perra from themindfulhabit.com. I'm the founder of the Mindful Habit System, the world's top at-home addiction program for men struggling with sex and porn addiction. And I base that claim on the over 240 independent, verified, authenticated, real testimonials from men and their wives. And this broadcast is to empower you to create healthy sexuality and a great life. This is part of my Sex Addiction 101 series. And today we're going to talk about everything an addict needs to know about triggers, everything a partner needs to know about triggers. Listen, this is human. Everything that anybody needs to know about triggers, especially in these challenging times where fear is consuming us. If you have the slightest bit of mental health challenges, and I think we all do, I know I do, managing fear and managing your triggers, this is a crucial, critical time to get good at it, because own it or it will own you. I have a very special guest today, our resident expert, a psychologist in his home country of Poland. He's a graduate of the University of Adam Mickiewicz in Poznan. He is a recovery coach, getting an advanced certification as a psychosexual therapist. He's certified in the Mindful Habit System, the first person to become certified in the Mindful Habit System. He is my brother. He is my best friend. He was a former client. Adrian Sztroybn, welcome to the program, brother.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you for having me.
Privilege, privilege, privilege. So today we're talking about triggers. And don't you think, Adrian, like if you can manage your triggers now, you can manage them anytime. Are you seeing more stress in clients' lives and heck, even in your life personally with the coronavirus?
Yeah, of course. In terms of clients, I noticed that many people are worried about losing their jobs or they are already experiencing some financial loss. And I think that's creating a lot of stress for people, whether they will be able to pay for their mortgage, whether they are going to be able to maintain the coaching services with me, whether they are going to be able to put food on the table for the family. All of that is really scary. So that brings a lot of I would say stress, and people are quite often triggered by stress. That's one of the most, I would say, common triggers.
Fear, right?
Mhm.
Fear. I like to think of stress as just a new word for an old friend, and that friend is fear. And I'm seeing the same. People are scared. There is there's a lot of unknowns, and the more unknowns that we have, the more fearful they're going to be. So the more triggers that you're going to have. And what I love about this podcast, Adrian, or the subject that we're talking about now is this is like your system is being stressed.
Mm-hmm.
Your everything is going to be magnified and worse because of the coronavirus. So let's jump in. Let's talk about triggers. Let's start with the easy one first, right? What is a trigger?
Well, for me, the trigger is any feeling, situation, or thought that is firing up the compulsive reaction, that is starting this cycle of escape, of coping, of numbing. So that can be any place, any thought or memory or a feeling that is really hard for us to cope with, or reminds us of something, recalls something that starts this compulsive cycle, this habit cycle that we talk about in our system.
It kicks everything in motion.
Yeah,
Like the
exactly.
trigger on the gun. No bullet comes out without that trigger being pulled. The way I like to describe it is an energy shift in the body from positive to negative. Now there are positive triggers, right? But we're talking an energy shift in the body from positive to negative, and defining negative as loss of agency and control. Now, When people think about triggers, Adrian, or at least when they come to us, particularly if they've been working another program, they seem to have a good understanding of their sexual triggers. But that's, I mean, listen, and to me, Adrian, the sexual triggers aren't even the most important. What are the types of triggers that people need to pay attention to?
Well, I would say that most of triggers in their essence are non-sexual. By that I mean that we want to act out, to have some kind of sexual activity as an outcome, but the trigger isn't sexual. It is not because we don't have enough sex most of the time. It is because we are not meeting certain psychological needs, or we are in a place that reminds us of something. So those are those types of the triggers. Basic types of triggers are places that remind you of something. It can be a street club. It can be a place where you met your I would say past lover. It can be a place where you usually masturbate. All of those places that are connected somehow with either difficult emotions or acting out. So places, then people. There are certain people that are triggering for us, and it doesn't mean that we have to get rid of those people from our lives. We don't have to get rid of them, but we have to be careful around them. And those people can be people from our family. We can be emotionally triggered by our partner, by our children, by our parents. I think that is the most common case, probably.
A
By
boss.
siblings. Yeah, the boss, exactly.
No.
So those people who really push our buttons, those
And,
are,
and
yeah.
yeah, well, and what I just wanted to highlight on that is the deeper the relationship, the closer the relationship, the better, the stronger ability that that person has to trigger you. So I
Yeah,
want people to see that like inverse connection. The closer you are, the more likely you are to be triggered by that person. And any brother out there listening to this knows there is nobody that can push your buttons like your partner.
yeah, that's very,
Nobody can push your buttons like your partner. It is the opposite side of the love coin, and we're going to get into why that's true. So yeah, some great examples. Keep going.
sure. So like I said, people, it can be also people that you acted out with. Some of those people tend to reach out to guys. For example, if you were engaged in sugar daddy relationship, then sugar babies are calling sometimes or writing messages, and those are triggering people. Obviously, that's a no-brainer. So those are the people that you definitely can erase from your life if you want to stay sober. Um, then the other thing that can be triggering, the other category of triggers, is events. There are certain events that are triggering for us, and it can be either some kind of convention or a meeting that is stressful or difficult for us for some reason. But it can be also a situation where somebody yells at you, or when you're being criticized, or when somebody realizes that you lied, for example, and they call you up on that. All those things are events, and they happen. We can imagine they happen outside of you, and they can be very triggering. So it's important to be aware of those events. Some of them are, I would say, scheduled. We know that they are going to come, so we can prepare for them. And I think that is the best shield against those kind of situations. So the third category of triggers is events. There are also feelings that are triggering, and I would say there are no negative feelings or no wrong feelings, bad feelings. I don't use that vocabulary anymore. I try to not use it. But I think that there are feelings that are challenging and difficult to handle for certain people, and those are triggering feelings. It can be a feeling of joy or a feeling of bliss, even for a person. It doesn't have to be something that we associate usually with the negative state of mind, like anger, sadness, loneliness. It can be something positive as well. But any
Well,
emotion,
I want to stop
yeah,
there and jump in, Adrian, because you hit something that is very important. triggers, they're not all negative, right? The energy shift in the body from positive to negative, that's what's happening underneath the surface. But basically what triggers you is being a human. At any time you feel you're not good enough, anytime you make a mistake, anytime you fail, anytime you experience fear around your mortality, anytime you succeed, you get triggered. So many of our clients, when they're feeling good about themselves, when they may have accomplished something and did something that would make someone feel proud, well, that sabotage trigger fires off. That not good enough trigger fires off. So, as we're going through this, and this is why we wanted to talk about all the different kinds of trigger, like these events, these people, these places, these feelings. It is the human condition. There is no universe where you are going to get rid of your triggers. Now, I understand, and I have read that the people who disappear in the mountains for 14 years are able to train their brains where they don't react. But here's the thing, what we want to, and what we teach our clients is, you are going to get triggered. Here is what you do when you do get triggers. This is why it's so important to master them. So are there any other types of triggers? You mentioned the feelings, both good and bad. Anything left on that before we move on to the next question?
Sure. I think that thoughts can be triggering as well.
Yes, of course.
So sometimes, in the habit cycle, when you have the thought, usually we feel that something triggered that thought, but the thought can be triggering by itself. For example, this is what you brought up also. Something good happens and you think, I don't deserve it, or something is weird, something is wrong. I shouldn't be feeling like this, right? It can be something that we're aware of or something that we aren't aware of. But those thoughts can be definitely triggering. When you beat yourself up, when you criticize yourself, you want to be perfect, you have that perfectionistic attitude, you have too many expectations, or you are constantly, I don't know, doubting yourself. All those thoughts are definitely triggering. And sometimes also we rationalize, what I mean by that is we tell ourselves that it's okay to act out this time. It's going to be the last time, or I'm just curious, what's new, or I'm going to do it to just cut ties or something.
Yeah, I know what to do. I'll do it next time.
Yeah.
I know what to do. I'll do it next time. And we're seeing a lot of this now, right? Because of the fear that people are experiencing. They're obviously getting triggered in ways that they, probably couldn't even imagine, or certainly haven't been trained for. But here's what I like to say to that voice. Here's what I say to that voice in my head, which is, do it right next time. I say to that voice, how I manage this crisis is how I'm going to manage the next crisis.
Yeah.
How I manage this trigger is how I'm going to manage the next trigger. And what that did, when I finally realized that, I stopped kicking the can down the field or kicking the ball down the field. That told me that I had to take action now. And so the thoughts that Adrian's talking about, that to me, that is the true addiction. You are addicted to your thoughts, and in part and parcel, integral to being successful long term is changing your relationship with your thoughts, using your awareness of that trigger and that thought to drive positive action instead of sweeping you away in the undertow. Any other categories of triggers that you want to put out there?
Yeah, I will. But, just one thing came up when you were talking about, managing the crisis later on. You know what I'm doing when I have those thoughts that maybe, next time I will deal with it is better? I like to scare myself a little bit. I'm asking myself, what if this is the last time? What if there will be no next time, because this is the reality of our life. We never know, and I think those circumstances now can arise that awareness also, that we never know what will happen tomorrow. We are still going to be here, and I don't mean to scare people by that. I'm just saying that this is, for me, this is motivating. If I remind myself that there may be no next chance, so maybe this time I have to really um, put my best effort, put my best foot in, and see, what's going to be the outcome.
I love it.
So
My tattoo on my arm, Memento
yeah,
Mori. Remember that. Live each day
yeah,
like it's your last. You don't know what's going to happen. You have no guarantees in life. There's zero. There's zero. Awesome. Any other categories of triggers?
yeah. Last one that I have is habits. There are some habits that are triggering for us by themselves. And by that, I mean, for example, late night scrolling on Facebook, watching movies alone in your room, taking your phone to the bathroom. So those things by themselves, they aren't, you know, a relapse. They aren't difficult by themselves, but they can trigger you to do the same thing as before. If you know that you act out with your phone in the bathroom, then taking your phone to the bathroom is a very triggering habit, right? So just breaking that pattern by just putting the phone away can be make a big difference. So habits can be triggering. Sometimes drinking, a drinking habit. If you're drinking on parties, and after that you go home, and first thing you do after going home, you open up a computer or a phone in your bed, and you're a little bit drunk. That was my case. It was always extremely hard for me to resist that temptation when I was, under influence. So that was a bad habit for me. I had to stop that, and if I was drinking, I was always with somebody, coming back, so I'm not alone. And I had those safety precautions in place, so that habit won't be happening. And now I'm not drinking at all for, at least it started recently, but I'm sober now, not drinking at all for a couple of weeks. So cross your fingers.
Yes. Well, and I need to be clear. Even social drinking, you weren't actively treating an alcohol problem.
No, no, no,
Um,
no, no. Just
yeah,
social. Yeah, any drinking.
that's right. Yeah. And I'll tell you, I have a 2 drink maximum, and
Mm-hmm.
every horrible mistake that I have made in my life, there was alcohol. Alcohol
Mm-hmm.
was part of that, from getting stabbed when I was 18 years old in the neck, to getting arrested, to my serious, acting out towards the end of my downward spiral 10 years ago. Yeah, great point. So let me ask you this question, okay? What does it mean that triggers are biologically hardwired? We say that a lot. What do you mean by that?
Well, that was something that when I started the program with you, Craig, to be frank, it was a little bit unclear to me. What do you mean by that? And what I learned during my recovery was that, like you said, triggers are essential part of our life. There are going to be circumstances where we are unbalanced. It's impossible, probably, to maintain perfect balance and perfect state of non-reaction forever. Maybe some enlightened people can do that, but my personal experience says that it's impossible. So that's what I think means that triggers are biologically hardwired. So we are going to respond to certain situations automatically. We are going to feel emotional challenge when something happens in our life. For example, we lose a loved one, right? Or there is a global pandemic. It's a natural response. It's part of our biology, and we can't fight with that, right? Like when you're, for example, single and you didn't have a relationship for a very long time, it's very natural for you to feel lonely also, and that's triggering. So for me, this is what it means that triggers are biologically hardwired. That this is part of our life as human beings.
At the base of the brain, we have an amygdala, and
Yeah.
that amygdala fires when we experience fear. And, what the significance of that statement, your triggers are, by the way, when someone told that to me, your triggers are biologically hardwired, I got to be honest, it's like, fuck you. like
I
that,
was
that just
upset.
sounded
Yeah.
so terrifying. See, because I get, I was getting help. I was going to the meetings. I was, just trying. But I had it wrong. I thought that I would get to a place where that wouldn't bother me, where I wouldn't get triggered. And when I shifted my focus, when I realized that, wait a minute, what if I assume that I'm going to get triggered again? What if, and we're going to talk about what to do about them in a minute. If I assume that they were going to happen, and what if I could use them? What if I could use those triggers which today, instead of robbed me of yesterday, robbed me of agency and control and sent me down a dark path? What if I could use them to wake up? And there's a beautiful secret there that we're going to talk about in a minute. So that's what we talk about. There's no universe where you're not going to get triggered. There's no amount of therapy or counseling or meditation or maybe mindfulness. Maybe there are some enlightened people who don't get triggered. I don't know them. I've never met someone like that. So you're going to get triggered. What do you do about it? Let's talk about that now, Adrian. What do you do about when you get triggered?
Yeah. And I think that, when we talk about how to deal with triggers, there's a situation that always comes up to my mind. I remember when I was doing the recovery work with you, it was 8 years ago, I think. Yeah, very
Yeah,
long time
around
ago.
there, man. Woo!
We were doing the recovery work, and I was sober for, I think, half year already. So I was doing well in the program. And I remember that during that time I had really rough relationship with my partner, and very often we weren't really feeling connected. We were fighting a lot. Um, and I was when I was feeling triggered by that situation, I was feeling like, we don't have that connection. Everything else was triggering as well. So I was going outside of home, and I couldn't, focus on what I need to do because my head was just spinning around, looking at different women. Or I was in a yoga class, and I couldn't focus as well, just imagining what I would do with those people around, right? So I was very triggered when there were some emotional needs that weren't getting met. I was feeling disconnected, lonely, defensive. All those things were happening in the background. So, in the same situation, I remember the same yoga class. I went there when I felt really great and my relationship started to get better and I felt this love and connection. And I had no response from the same situation. Women in spandex, yoga pants, nothing. I was just doing the yoga class. So that showed me something, that there are those emotional needs that we have to fulfill in order to not feel as triggered, or to not feel triggered at all sometimes. I think it's possible to not react to the same situations in the same way over time, even though I still feel triggered by certain things. Like I still feel triggered by booze. That's why I'm not drinking now. I still feel triggered if I don't sleep for a couple days. So those things didn't change, but some things did change, and I think it did change thanks to those responses that I had when I felt triggered. So I was noticing my head is spinning. I'm really, starting to objectify girls around me. So the way to fight with that for me was to first of all notice that what I'm doing, right? So stop for a second and observe what's going on inside of your mind. Why are you looking at those women? What are you imagining? So just observing what's going on, stopping for a second, focusing on my breath, taking a couple deep breaths and asking myself, what is missing right now? What am I really needing at this moment? Is fantasizing about having sex with a stranger that I don't know and don't care about going to help me? Those questions were really helpful for me just to redirect my attention and focus on, you know, what I need to do. And quite often it was about connection. It was about reaching out to people and talking about, my feelings, reconnecting with my partner. Sometimes it was about just taking better self care, doing my morning meditation or running, or just doing something that will make me discharge the anger, right? Sometimes I'm doing push-ups, for example, as part of my response to triggers. So I think that response um, has to be done in this way, that we respond to three areas of our functioning: the mental, the physical, and the emotional area of our functioning. We have to um, ask ourselves certain questions and work with our thoughts. That's very important. But we also have to reach out to other people and take action and maybe do some push-ups, do something physical, do something with our body. And we also have to work with our feelings, which is getting in touch with what I'm feeling right now and maybe expressing my feelings in some way, whether journaling about it or talking about that with somebody. So those were the things that I was always trying to do when I was feeling triggered. Just some questions that will help me to redirect my thoughts. Then physical action, removing myself from the triggering environment, looking away, and then maybe trying to work with that feeling somehow, either breathing deeply and observing it, or reaching out to somebody, talking about how I'm feeling. Those kind of things were really helpful. And what helps you, Craig? What are your
Well,
ways to deal with
it's
triggers?
when I came to see my triggers as gifts, I'm gonna repeat something that Adrian said that is absolute a genius and is so important. Is okay, so I got to accept them, but then it said once I accept them, accept the reality that I'm going to be triggered. What do I do about them? And I saw that my triggers every single time, whenever my cage was rattled, whenever I experienced an energy shift in the body from positive to negative, I needed something. I needed something. I needed attention. I needed significance. I needed love and connection. I needed something. So I saw, and I encourage everyone listening to this broadcast, see your triggers as needs indicators. You need something. You need something. And Adrian is so brilliantly correct when he says that our response to them, not just in the moment, there needs to be a holistic, here's your curse. Here's the curse, sex addicts and porn addicts. Here's your curse. The cure is the aggressive pursuit of a great life, period. That's it. There's no mediocrity. There's no malaise. There's no average that's going to bring you through this, because you are going to get triggered. So when I saw my triggers as needs indicators, then I said, what do I do about it? So that means I have to use those triggers to prompt action. Now, listen, those triggers that we're talking about, brothers and sisters, those triggers that we're talking about right now, that wiring has been in place since your childhood. That wiring has been in place since your childhood. So you've got to use your awareness of those triggers and the thoughts that immediately follow to drive positive action. So I came up with my trigger response plan. And my trigger response plan changed my life. My trigger response plan is first, wrong thought right. Declare that trigger, that the thought that I had, the self-deprecating thought, the sexual thought, wrong, insert the right thought. That's your basic cognitive behavioral thought replacement. Easy peasy. But that wasn't enough. So then if that wasn't enough, I'd go to step 2 and I'd snap that elastic band on my wrist, aversion therapy. But sometimes that wasn't enough. So then I'd go to step 3, mindful breathing. 5 long mindful breaths, 5 count in, 5 count out. Now I didn't realize it then, but I was touching the vagus nerve, which is the mind-body connection. That was relaxing the body, restoring agency and control. But sometimes that wasn't enough. Then I'd go to step 4, and that's when I knew I had to engage the body. I had to do something. I do some push-ups, sit-ups, plank position. Now I do a forward fold, which is I bend my knees, rest my torso onto my chest, or rest my torso onto my upper thighs as I'm bent. Oh, I'm just bending over. I'm bending over, but relaxing my neck, the muscles in my face, loosening up that lower back. And then step 5, I call somebody. If I was really rattled and things didn't 1, 2, 3, 4, at least I had built enough capacity to reach out to someone and say, hey, I'm off. I need something. My trigger told me I need something. Now I'm getting it. I'm going to connect instead of disconnect. So the triggers, the same things that brought me to both of us, Adrian, to suicide attempts, to the lowest that we've ever been, have become these incredible gifts that tell me when I'm snapping out of it, when I'm drifting off from being mindful, when I am reacting because I felt it fear. And that's the gift for everybody here, is you're going to be triggered like you've never been triggered before. And just one thing isn't going to do it. You've got to practice mindfulness every day. You've got to practice rigorous self-care. You've got to live a purpose-driven life. Oh, and by the way, you've got to have a protocol to respond to your triggers. And for me, that's my trigger response plan.
Yeah, I totally agree, Craig. I couldn't say it better. So I think this is also maybe a gift that we are giving to you guys now in this time of turmoil. Use that. What I'm doing is, right now I'm setting goals for myself each day. I'm doing a lot of mindfulness. I am having a plan for each hour of the day. So you can really use that time to elevate your recovery. Maybe this is the worst time of your life, but I think in some sense there will be not a better time to recover than right now. So use that time to really elevate your recovery.
If you can do it here, you can do it now, you can do it anytime. And so if you are in a place where you want structured support, if you want community, coaching, and a system that we've touched on parts of that system here today, that's my group coaching program. So I want to let you know what we've done. Is that I always have set aside a limited number of scholarships per month. I have increased that number significantly. So we have scholarships that we're offering to people who want to get into that group coaching program. Adrian has got a phenomenal one-on-one coaching program. Adrian, can you tell people just a little bit about that?
Sure. Mm-hmm. So I'm doing enhanced accountability program for guys who want to stay sober and be accountable during their recovery work. That means that I'm going to check in with you every week, see how are you progressing on your goals, give you tips how to achieve goals in your recovery. We are going to exchange emails. You get support, motivation, personal coaching from me, and all of that is included in, I would say, a very inexpensive package. Right now, it's 50% off for the first month, so just $199 per month, and this is, I think, a really good price for the offer. What I'm doing is I'm focusing also on my personal tools that really help me to create and elevate. I would say elevate my recovery to the whole new level. I'm learning stuff also on my sexology postgrad, so there's a lot of knowledge there that I can share with you in terms of how to improve your sex life, how to make sure that you're meeting the needs of your body as well, because we also have bodies. We don't only have psychology, and I think sometimes we forget about that when we're dealing with those issues. So all of that is included in this enhanced accountability program coaching package.
Yeah, Adrian's been doing this one-on-one coaching package for like 5 years now. And it's just, we've structured it in a way where it's just the right amount for not everybody, but for the right guy, it is the perfect amount of one-on-one coaching. Also, as I mentioned, you've got the group coaching option, and you can learn more about that on the website, themindfulhabit.com. If you want to connect with Adrian, okay, it's so important that you work with the person that you connect with. And some people connect with me, Some people connect with Adrian. Some people connect with George, and we all have our strengths. And so very important. In fact, it's one of the most significant predictors of results in any coaching or therapeutic relationship is your connection to that person. And if you connect with Adrian, please call him at 1-800-214-5249. That's 1-800-214-5249. Or you can reach out to him by email, adrian@themindfulhabit.com, or you can call the number on the website. So definitely some options. I want to thank you so much for being here, Adrian.
Thank you for having me. Thank you very much.
And you will be back. Adrian is a critically important member of my team. He leads group coaching calls in the group coaching program. He responds to guys on our community forum, reviewing their assignments. He's also does one-on-one work and the enhanced accountability program. So so blessed and privileged to have him on the team. So blessed and privileged, Adrian, to call you a friend. I just am so feel so grateful for the conversations that we've had over the course of the past 2 days, where we talk about our feelings, where we talk about our fears, and we know we know not to keep them bottled up, and that it's our job now to be leaders, and that's what we're doing. So proud to have you on the team. Thank you, brothers, for listening. We'll be back tomorrow or the next day with another podcast. Embrace your power of choice. Feed the right wolf inside you. Make it great. Use this crisis to grow. Honored to help. Bye, everybody.
Bye.